have the release notes publicly available under our public wiki. I'll show you this in a second when my browser hopefully will open. So here in the external wiki, we have a section which is called Release Notes, which Aviv maintains in a very good way every version release. So since August or whatever it was, like there were around 6 or 7 iterations, and each release notes contains at the top of it, if I press one of them, the main changes. This is a small one, so there wasn't anything else, but let's take another one. So there's the main changes at the top, and then typically, the examples that I gave not so good, there's more details below. But here we have the consolidation of all the 6 or 7 latest release. So the first thing is the product renaming. So we moved from Business GPT and we're now called Pragatix, as I'm sure all of you are aware. So it was a big effort to change all of the places. I'm sure there's still work to do, like in the documentation and some other places, in the URL of the site, some cases. But in general, we're using Pragatix. We also did another name change in terms of the 2 main interfaces. So the interface which is aimed for the admin, this one, which was previously called Dashboard, now is called Admin Center, similar to what Microsoft offers and other vendors. So this is now the Admin Center. And the component which was before called Lite Mode, we called Workspace. And you can go from the Admin Center to the Workspace. And in the next version, also already here, sorry, you can go back from the Workspace to the Admin Center by clicking this button. We also allowed for our partners and customers an easier way to brand the product. We feel that's something important from the market feedback we got. And we don't want to rely on developer developing CSS just to quickly do some basic changes. So now in the account management here, under the Admin Center, you can pretty easily change some stuff. So you can customize the text of the title, subtitle of the Admin Center and the Workspace. This is referring to this, for example. And here is this. And you can also upload an image for the company logo and a background image, if you like, and change the colors of the site without any coding. In general, we're trying to position our platform as low code or no code. So it's something like you don't need intensive developer resources to adopt AI and quickly take advantage while deploying in enterprise. But if you're a sophisticated customer, you can always upload a CSS and change anything in the product. We also support now almost 10, I think, 10 languages or something, 8 or whatever languages. These changes, the changes in the language are mainly focused on the workspace. So everything in the workspace, while you choose a different language, will change, include, for example, the list of tools and the explanation and the keywords, and everything now can be used in the local language. We're now working a little bit to include also some language changes also in the Admin Center, starting with the firewall. This is okay, this is we spoke. Okay. We did a lot of improvements that are hard to show and explain, but you should be aware that we're working continuously, even today as we speak, to improve the quality of the answers. The main challenge we see is to convince or to get the AI to give answers that are really based solely on corporate knowledge and not on pre-trained knowledge. So for our customers, it's very important that the chat will answer, and it sounds maybe something simple, but I can tell you that we're investing a lot of resources to get it work properly. It's easy when you just upload one document and ask a question, but when you have a database which includes hundreds of thousands of documents, many times the chatbot returns information, not many times, but several times the chatbot returns data from his general knowledge, and we're trying to avoid it. We're trying to send more accurate chunks. We're trying to do additional verification, and some of the stuff has not yet been released, but that's an area we invested heavily in the last few weeks. We improved our ability to chat cross-language. Cross-language means that you can ask a question in one language, and the chat bot will be able to give you an answer of a document related, written in a different language. So let's say I ask something in English, what are the opening hours of the cafeteria? And there's a Hebrew document explaining this, we'll now be able to retrieve it. We added some better user experience while waiting for the chat to answer. So now when you wait for the chat to answer, when the processes are long, so you can see some notification that something is going on. So I can try and give you an example, maybe from the data analytics, which is a relatively longer process. So if I take this, for example, and analyze and ask list the the 5 top selling cars by revenue. So here you should see like the changes done, and in a similar way it works in the chatbot. So I think this was already available before August, but I'll show you in a minute how does it work in the chatbot. What's new here, that you can stop the process. Okay, so I can stop it in the middle. And also here, if I go to the chat and ask something, what are the system requirements of graphics for POC? So here you see these are new for sure, these dynamic messages. We're getting your response ready. It should change to something else, but sadly I see it doesn't change. That probably needs to be fixed. So that was the idea.
In the past, we changed some when you just ask how are you doing or something like that. It should be immediate, and it still takes time, I think.
Okay, that's something to notice. We have a component in the system which is called AI router. We're working on improving it much more in the next version. But this AI router should spot what questions do not require to go to the company data. So how are you, or questions like this, you'll know immediately to answer from like politely. But I hear what you're saying, but I was not able to demonstrate, but these messages should have been changing over time. That's the dynamic messaging. We also added the ability to manage your chats and assistant in a more friendly way using a favorite section. So now in the workspace, like since August, we added this favorite section. So you can take any knowledge assistant. Let's say I take David 5, it's a new one, and I add it here by clicking the star. So now it's available, easily accessed from the favorite menu. And also inside an assistant or any chat, I can select a specific chat and pin it to the top. So if I pin this, for example, so in this assistant, it always appears at the top if you want to continue the conversation or it's something important for you to do. So that's the favorite options. And also we now display per chat the relevant history. So if I'm here in the home, I see all of my history from all over, from search, from assistant, from general. But if I click on one, let's say the wiki, then I see now only the history of this chat. Or if I go to general, I see a different history. Okay, so that's also something we have changed. Always the all history is always available here. So you can also see it here. But for now, it's always also accessible at the home at this site. There were some glitches, I would say, when you work on smaller screens. So icons were going out. So now you see when the screen is small, we remove the text and try as much as we can to shrink the chat to be friendly. All of this interface of the Workspace is also mobile friendly, so it works well on mobile, but the challenges were not on mobile. The challenges we came across were actually in laptops or screens that are not mobile, but not general standard width. So for now, we have handled this, as you can see, like here. We support OCR. So today, if you upload a PDF that is actually scanned, what happens is that we perform an OCR on that PDF. There's actually a wiki page. Maybe we can try our chat to see if it was just written yesterday. I hope it will get it. How does Pragatix handle OCR?
You want to read the wiki chat or the general chat?
The general should cover the wiki, I hope. I'm not sure, but let's see. We're challenging our product. So these messages should change. I don't know why they're not changing. Okay, so it's actually got it pretty well. We found the page. So the page here is, I think it's the relevant page. So that's a configuration. But the explanation here that if we're not able to extract text from the PDF, then we realize it's scanned. So what we do, we split the PDF into pages. Each page will be converted to an image, and each image will go through an OCR process, and then we combine everything back to one long text that is associated with that PDF. And for the end user, it's transparent. So if I go here, and I have an example I've prepared with the help of Aviv in advance. So I have this PDF, which you can see it's actually scanned. I'll take it and I'll upload it. What should I ask Aviv? I forgot. Aviv?
Is it the OCR file that we want to show an example of?
Yeah.
How much money each kid received? Target.
Okay, and here you can see we let the user know that we're now performing OCR. It's a much heavier process. It might take time, but he got the answer well. We did a lot of changes in terms of multi-selecting and multi-relationship between our entities, and I'll touch it in different angles. In this context, what's written is that now you can go and select like several documents. Okay, let's say I select this, this, and this, and I can create a chat on all of them together without the need to create a collection or an assistant, just on the fly. It also applies for the end user. I did not speak about this, but it's a good time. For the end user, we introduced a new component, which is called knowledge base. It's like a subset of the admin center focusing on the content. So here, the end user can see like a little bit of a view of his documents and sources the admin decided. So also here, he can select a few. And we also support now multi-selecting across pages. So you can see I can select these two. They are listed here. And now I can go to page 4 and maybe select this one. So they are added. And then I can chat either by clicking here or by clicking this button. So you can just wander around the data source, collect the relevant documents, and click the chat. This list of data sources, by the way, what is available here is configured here under account settings. So you can choose what data sources you want your end user to have in the workspace, maybe AWS S3 or emails or whatever. You can also change the name. So we have the customer that wanted to change the name. Let's say my company document. So AGAT documents, I can call it. And I'm not sure if it needs a restart, or can try. Maybe it needs some refresh, but then it should show here AGAT documents instead of documents. Maybe a refresh is needed. So that's that multi-select. There's also a new setting. The general chat is becoming a very important part of our product. And our vision in the next versions, you'll see, is to only have the general chat. So we're consolidating all of our chats into one single chat that will be smart and be able to identify what is needed to be done, whether it's a data analysis, whether it's an AI agent needed or anything like this. And we also added, based on customer feedback, what should be the general, what should be the scope by default, whether it should be company only or company and public. And this is done, again, from the admin center, default general chat scope, company, public, or both. The knowledge assistant got a facelift, I would call it. Before it was a little bit tedious to create one, and you also could not edit it, and there were all sorts of limitations. So for now, first of all, you can add different types whatsoever, both files and folders. So until August, you were not able, for example, to take 2 folders of SharePoint and create from them a knowledge assistant. So now we support any object to be added to these assistant for multiple sources and multiple types. And we also did a change. That's a very important news. So you can like collect, that was our agenda, but it wasn't really working well. So now you can create an assistant, for example, on some project, and you can add an email, you can add a document, you can add the meeting transcript, anything relevant, and create from it an assistant that specializes in that project, okay? We also changed the ability, or not the ability, the UI of how to create an assistant. So now you have the more natural option, I feel, is to say, okay, I want to create an assistant. So you go here to Knowledge Assistant, you create new, it should be new assistant actually, and I'll give it my name, I don't know, demo day, or these fields are known for you, like which model, what are the prompts, and so on. But what's new is this part. So I can add to this assistant data from the assistant page. So I can choose maybe a document. I don't remember what this JPEG we just added. And then I can add also maybe Microsoft SharePoint, I don't know, marketing items or whatever. And I can go and just click confirm. Another important thing that was done in this screen, I'll just stop before continuing. We invested quite a lot to manage properly the permissions. So some of the issues customers were facing before is that they were creating an assistant and adding to it content that the user did not have access to. And they were not understanding why the chat did not answer the user. So for now, by default, when you create an assistant, only you have access to it, and you can add any group you want. But the system will verify that at least some of the content the users have access to. So if, for example, another group that no one has access to that item, let's say I'll remove. So this JPEG, I think only I have access. So if I'll just, let's say I'll add everyone, I hope it will not allow me to save it. Okay, so it says I'm not sure that's the right message, but what it says is that I cannot save it because everyone, it should be everyone, Aviv maybe writes an issue on that. Not everyone has access to this file. That's what it means. So I need to make sure I choose content that people have access to before being able to save it. So it works in multi-layer or multi-level of notification. If you have here a user that does not have access to anything, it's an error. It won't allow you to save it. But if you have, let's say I added 5 documents and a group or user have access to some, but not all, it will show you a warning. So it will tell you, notice, you have here people that have access to this assistant, but do not have access to all of the content. Do you want to continue or maybe fix something? Okay. So that's one important change that was done. And again, we saw quite a lot of errors of users not getting answers just because they do not have permission. So this is like a filter that would avoid such issues. This is also available from the data sources themselves. So you can go here and say, I want this one. I want to create from it a knowledge assistant or add it to a knowledge assistant. And now you see he asks you, do you want to create a new one? Or maybe to add it to an existing one. So I can choose an existing one, and I can take anything and just click next, okay? Also, now you can edit the assistant, which was not possible before. So you can edit and add more content if you want. And I think these are the only topics that I covered, all of the topics related to creating assistant. In a similar way, we enhance the collection because the assistant under the hood is just a chat on a collection. But also now you can take any item and add it to an existing collection from different types. So this is what I spoke about, redesign creation flow of how to create an assistant in a more streamlined, like it's more natural. We felt that instead of going to the data sources, say, okay, I want to create now an assistant on HR, on project classified or whatever, okay? We spoke about adding multiple files and folders. That's a very important change. It was very deep in the tables and infrastructure to achieve this. We spoke about updating existing. The safeguard are these messages that I told you that avoid creating an assistant on content people don't have access to, and adding multiple files and collections. In terms of the embedded chat, what is new is that now you can choose which AI model is used for the embedded chat. I would guess it's also under the account settings here. At the bottom here. It's not here, it's when you create an assistant, okay? When you create an assistant, this one, for example, is embedded. Embedded is a chat that is displayed outside of our system in another website or something like this. And here now you have a new field of the default model, which was not available before. We also fixed issues with the streaming that the user will see. The streaming is when the answer is written line by line. So as soon as the AI starts answering, we don't wait. We give you a better user experience by writing the messages as they come out of the LLM to us. We also invested pretty heavily in improving the reports per account, allowing account managers to have better understanding of the adoption and risks of using AI. So now at the account level, first of all, the reports moved here. Before it was a firewall dashboard. Today we have created 2 types of reports. Firewall all reports about what are people doing, and content is about what content is being used. So what is now working that didn't work in the past is that you have this cool pre-built period filtering. So I can say, okay, I want to see just last week. And I can also filter by user or group. So I can write here marketing, and maybe I want to see only what my marketing team is doing. So I can see what is it using for, or what are the classification. And you can filter by user, a specific user. So maybe just I want to see my user. There's a lot of flexibility, and it can give you insights on what is going on. So that's one change. Also, all of the reports here, all of the entities here are clickable. So I can click on anything here. So I can say, for example, I want to see all of the prompts here. So I click. This performance issue will be solved this week. So for now, it's still slow, but next release, I already seen it working very, very fast. So it should show all of the prompts of that point. I'll just go away for now. Also, I'm not sure if all of you are aware. So if I go, these charts are configurable. Like I can say, okay, I want to focus only on ChatGPT, so I can cross off the others. Okay, and see only ChatGPT. This is also about to change that it will only show 10 items per chart. This is too crowded for now, but again, this is to be fixed shortly. Also, this is a new chart, very important in my opinion. Let's just do it not all time. Let's do it 1 month so it looks better. So these are questions by time for my account, so I can see how well is my adoption going, if people are using it more or less over time. So I think it's also very important. Now you can see better the trends of using the different services. So I can see which services I use more. So I see, for example, people are using Claude. Okay, I can click on this and see who is using Claude, for example, and what is it used for. It's taking time to load, so let's skip it. Okay. So AI services by time, that's this chart we just seen. Questions by time, time-based filtering, and added to account content reform. So also in a similar way, still loading. In a similar way, we have content reports. So these are about content types. And here also you can filter by dates, specific dates or periods. We faced some performance issues with customers that had a lot of users and groups, like thousands, I think was the scale, if not more. So now it loads much effectively. I'm talking about the admin center. If you've noticed that when I load the reports page, they load gradually. So they load one by one to avoid waiting for the whole page to complete before showing something. That's something very small, but you have now the ability to set monthly cost limit per user. I think it is done under account management users. So here you can set, this is in dollars, how many dollars spent a user is allowed. We added the option for admin. There was a challenge we faced that we had admins that were setting up the product, but they did not have access to some of the content. So they could not see exactly if they set up properly these assistants and so on. So now when you're an admin, you can see the names of the entities. You can't ask questions, you can't see the content, but at least you can see what's going on. Sorry, you can see what's going on. But we now added like a safeguard that if you as an admin ask something that you don't have access to, so you get a friendly message instead of an empty answer. There were also significant changes in SharePoint. Most of them are related to on-prem. I think from a user point of view, the main change is the ability to represent well hierarchy of SharePoint fully in our system. So I'm not sure I have a good example to show here. But we now support full hierarchy of the folders. So I'm not sure this is the proper example, but you can just go in and in as if you're in SharePoint. So you double click, you go in. If there was another folder, I can also double click. So that is a small change from a user perspective, but from the product, it was a very significant change. Moving like from a flat list of files under a folder to support full hierarchy, understanding the status of the folder based on all of the children, and there were a lot of related tasks to this. There were some, also here now when you search, it searches recursively inside the subfolders, which wasn't before. Atlassian, some minor changes about URL. And I think there's one more thing that is not written. I suddenly remembered, and I remember Ruben asked me a few days ago what it is. So also in the firewall now, in the guardrails, you can set a policy, sorry for jumping for another back to the firewall, but you can set a policy based on model. So this came from customers who wanted to allow using different scenarios on different models. So maybe for some scenarios or some content or some classification, it's okay to use Gemini, which is cloud, hosted by OpenAI. And for others, not Gemini, sorry, ChatGPT 4.0 mini, for example. But for other scenarios, they're required to use an on-prem model. And what's important also to note that these guardrails also apply for developers using our API. So that was the exact use case of this customer. Like he wanted to use our product as like a router to reach different models, but he wanted to A, set limitation, that was the cost part that I showed you before, and B, decide which use cases are valid to use with which model. So I think I ended most of the things. Any questions or comments by anyone?